Thank you very much. I'm actually very honored to be here at the anti-aging conference. I've enjoyed it very much. This is actually my first time either presenting or being here. I've enjoyed it because it seems like this is the kind of group that will take these emerging technologies that are coming out of the scientific field and are not afraid to apply them in their practice. And so I was very pleasantly surprised with this. I was very happy also to hear Dr. Grossman's introduction to the future of anti-aging. And he mentioned nanotechnology as being one of the sources of our future bridges to anti-aging medicine. And nanotechnology is an absolutely fascinating field. I've worked in it. He actually only talked about possibly the tip of the iceberg of the things that are actually coming up in that field. There are other emerging fields of science that are also very exciting and will have application to medical science in many years. However, I'm here to talk about a whole field of science that is emerging. It's called redox signaling and regulation. This is a growing field of science. It's very exciting. There are several books being written on the subject. My favorites there are Redox Biochemistry by Ruma Banjari, Antioxidant and Redox Regulation of Genes, is a compilation of scientific papers, peer-reviewed, on the subject, and you can go down the list. There's a journal actually devoted only to redox signaling. It's Antioxidant and Redox Signaling Journal. You can look that one up. And of course, all over the world, there are many conferences also that are focusing in on this area of science. In fact, every major university now has a department that is doing research in this. There are hundreds of papers coming out. I can't possibly read them all. So why is everyone so excited then about redox signaling? Redox signaling is fundamental and universal to all processes of life. And I'm serious when I say that. It's present in prokaryotic primitive organisms, in eukaryotic organisms. It's present in plants. It's part of the innate immune system of almost every complex organism that exists. And these little redox signaling molecules, which I will introduce to you a little bit later on, are caused to mediate several multiple cellular defense and repair and replacement mechanisms. And I'll just mention a few of them. DNA repair, antioxidant regeneration cycles, oxidative stress. In fact, these redox signaling molecules are the components of oxidative stress, and they do a lot of signaling. Cell division rates, tissue regeneration, blood flow regulation, vasodilation and constriction, inflammation and antimicrobial defense mechanisms, leukocyte adhesion to the endothelium, immune response, protective enzyme production, efficacy, cellular apoptosis, death domain messengers, vascular regenerations, and many more are underneath the auspices of redox signaling. And this list is expanding exponentially. In fact, it's very exciting to see, but it's a little bit confusing because it affects the biological organisms in so many areas. So if you were to actually sit back and look and stare at this list for a little bit, look at the research, I have seen sort of a pattern emerging in what redox signaling actually does inside the body, and many others then have been working on this same bend. First of all, I'd like to introduce to you what the redox signaling molecules are. They're just simple rearrangements of the dominant molecules that exist in cellular fluids, meaning water, sodium chloride, nitrogen. Now, the body, via many different kind of mechanisms and enzymes and in electron donation processes, will take these simple molecules and then rearrange them to form reactive molecules. And through reduction and oxidation methods, and that's why redox is so named, these reactive molecules then are manufactured by the body. Hydrogen peroxide, many of you know, is very bioactive and chemically active. Nitric oxide is also very active in many of the signaling processes in the body. Superoxides and hypochlorites play very important roles in the immune system. And there are more than 20 other kinds of molecules then that exist, redox signaling molecules that exist as part of this redox signaling network. And so what do they do? First of all, we have mentioned that they're very reactive. In fact, they're categorized in the literature into two areas: reactive oxygen species and reduced species. So, for example, the reactive oxygen species has free radicals in there that can cause damage and aging to all of your tissues. And they're also strong oxidizers and reducers and participate in almost all of the cellular processes. And by themselves, if you isolate them, they're toxic. So the body sort of does a balancing act, I suppose, like juggling knives. It uses these toxic molecules as signaling messengers and in other biological capacities. But they're difficult to work with in the laboratory because they're so reactive. They will pretty much degrade. So wouldn't it be nice if we were able to form a stable combination of these reactive signaling molecules? Now let's even go beyond there and say, wouldn't it be nice if they were non-toxic? How about if they didn't react with your environment so that we could actually store them? That would be pretty neat also. Very well. I'll talk a little bit about that later on. But the body has us beat in this regard. Because as far as I've studied, and I'm not a physician, and I have nowhere near the medical knowledge that many of you do, but the body is able to produce large amounts of these mixtures of reactive molecules in balances that are non-toxic.